Game of Thrones has lots of little ironies that are just so interesting. George R.R. Martin is certainly an interesting writer and has created some great bitter ironies in his story. Here's a list of 10 that really stand out. Jon Snow allowed the White Walkers through the wall. If Jon Snow had not joined the Night's Watch, he would never have learnt about the White Walker threat. He would never have worked against it, and he would never have tried to prove it to Cersei. In turn, Daenerys would never have gone north to rescue him and his party, allowing the Night's King to kill and resurrect her dragon to break down the wall to get through. They all should have just listened to the advice of the Grand Maester from the Citadel and ignored the threat completely.
The wall has stood through it all, and every winter that ever came has ended.
Jon Snow should have listened to Budgen and stayed home and married a woman.
The wall isn't going anywhere.
I'm ready to swear your oath.
You don't understand what you'd be giving up. We have no families. None of us will ever father sons.
I don't care about that.
You might, if you know what it meant.
I guess Jon Snow really does know nothing.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Things didn't get better without Joffrey. Everyone hated Joffrey, the characters in the show and audiences alike. We'd expect his death to be a good thing and that many of the problems would go away with his demise. But if anything, the situation worsened considerably, despite the threats Joffrey created, such as the Starks and Stannis largely having been defeated. On many things, Joffrey may even have been right. He was right about the threat Daenerys posed with her dragons.
Tell me about the Targaryen girl in the east and her dragons. Don't you think we ought to do something about it?
When I was Hand of the King under your father's predecessor, the skulls of all the Targaryen dragons were kept in this room. And the skull of the last of them was right here. It was the size of an apple.
And the biggest was the size of a carriage.
He may have been right about the idea of having a single standing army rather than splitting between the bannermen.
A royal army.
Why should every lord command his own men? It's primitive. No better than the hill tribes, we should have a standing army of men loyal to the crown, trained by experienced soldiers instead of a mob of peasants who've never held pikes in their lives.
He was even right when he said that Tywin was hiding when Robert won the war.
My father won the real war, while you hid under Castle Rock!
It is actually disturbing how often Joffrey was right. Eddard Stark died for nothing. All 3 of the illegitimate Baratheon Lannister children were killed by enemies of the Lannisters. Now you might argue here that if the War of the Five Kings had never started, this would not have occurred, but it might have gone down the same as well. Myrcella was killed in revenge for Oberyn's death, and he would have come to the capital seeking revenge for his sister Elia Martell regardless of the War of the Five Kings. Tommen committed suicide and might very well have done something similar without Eddard dying. Joffrey was inclined to make enemies, and while the War of the Five Kings forced the Lannisters and the Tyrells together, it still might well have ended the same for him. With all 3 of the Lannister Baratheon children dead, Stannis would have been heir to the Iron Throne. Maybe Eddard Stark should have just been quiet. Littlefinger got killed by what he didn't know. Peter Littlefinger Baelish's house words are,
"Knowledge is power."
When Ros used the popular phrase,
What she doesn't know won't hurt her?
Littlefinger responded, "A stupid saying. What we don't know is usually what gets us killed." The one thing Littlefinger didn't know of or consider in any of his plots was magic. He didn't have any knowledge whatsoever about it, and ultimately it is what led to his death through Bran. Jaime Lannister's one good deed. Jaime Lannister has all the appearance of a knight in shining armour, but he has very few of the actual qualities. He is not humble at all, he is not polite, and he sleeps with his sister, breaking his vow. Yet all of these negative qualities no one really seems to care about that much, even when they know about them. In contrast, the one good thing he did killing the Mad King when he was about to burn everyone in King's Landing, is what causes him to be hated and deridingly called Kingslayer. He was punished for his one good deed. Also cool that Ned Stark judged Jaime Lannister for being a backstabber.
Is that what you tell yourself at night? You're a servant of justice. That you were avenging my father when you shoved your sword in Aerys Targaryen's back.
But he himself backstabbed Arthur Dayne.
Your father beat him.
Did he?
No, he did. Heard the story 1,000 times. He stabbed him in the back.
Ramsay Bolton and Robb Stark refused a one-on-one duel. It's interesting because in the case of Robb Stark doing it, we were on his side.
We could end this war right now, boy. Save thousands of lives. You fight for the Starks, I fight for the Lannisters. Swords, lances, teeth, nails, choose your weapons. And let's end this here and now.
If we do it your way, Kingslayer, you'd win. We're not doing it your way.
And in the case of Ramsay Bolton doing it, we were strongly against him.
Thousands of men don't need to die. Only one of us. Let's end this the old way. You against me.
I don't know if I'd beat you, but I know that my army will beat yours.
But both of them sacrificed their men. If Robb Stark had accepted Jaime Lannister's deal, he would have saved so many of his men's lives, and the outcome probably would have been death for him, but he ended up dead anyway. Khal Drogo died of an infection. This is one everyone knows, but it is still so interesting. Khal Drogo died of an infection. The greatest and most powerful warlord of the Dothraki, probably the most powerful warlord in the entire setting, died of an infection. It's great because this is the sort of thing that does happen in history, such as the German Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, who jumped into a river during the march to the Holy Land in the Third Crusade, but ended up drowning because he forgot to take off his armour. Some have argued he had a heart attack because the water was only waist deep, but you get the point. Jorah Mormont was a slaver, Daenerys the breaker of chains. Jorah Mormont was exiled from Westeros for participating in the slave trade in order to acquire money to keep his wife, Lenise, contented. Inevitably, he was not able to hold on to his wife, who left him for another. It is sometime in the period after this that he came into the service of Daenerys Stormborn, who is passionately opposed to slavery. It's such a great twist in his life that this should occur. As an interesting piece of side trivia, Lenise and Daenerys are said to look alike. Tywin's children never had a chance to live up to him. Tywin was a great politician, a decent warrior, and a good thinker. It was almost destiny that none of his children would be able to live up to him. The irony is that in some ways they did. Jaime Lannister got the battle prowess and athleticism. Cersei got the political nous and cunning. Tyrion got the brains and book smarts. Combined, if they had worked together properly, they might have managed to replace Tywin in the aggregate. Cersei's overbearing parenting got her children killed. The prophecy that all of Cersei's children would die made her overprotective, and that seems to be the force that got them killed. Cersei really lives up to the devouring mother archetype. Joffrey was spoilt and so became a jerk, leading to the Tyrells killing him. Tommen was spoilt and became soft, leading to him committing suicide when his wife and the faith, which he had been manipulated by, were destroyed by Cersei. Myrcella was a bit of an exception, but without Jaime Lannister's interference, she may have been protected by Doran Martell. If she had let her children grow up normally and kept her hands off matters a bit, they may all have survived. I'm sure there are a lot of other ironies that are going to be revealed in Season 8, and maybe I will update my video then. If you have any that you want to talk about, by all means add a comment. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos analysing stuff, looking for hidden significance, stuff like that.